raise me up so I can you join me inside the 2022 Lexus IS 500 F Sport Performance. It is a mouthful, but with a grille like this car can take it. The first thing to say about this F Sport Performance is that it is not a full-on F product like the RCF, despite the fact that it shares the same engine and makes the same power. That is confusing. But no, this is an F Sport, akin to BMW's M Sport not being full-on M products, F Sport not a full-on F product. That doesn't mean, however, that Lexus isn't bringing the goods. This might be the last naturally aspirated V8 powered sedan that's going to go on sale. And that's matched by subtle exterior tweaks and even more subtle interior touches to help separate the IS 500 from lesser IS models. And so in this in-depth review, we need to find out whether this car is just an engine that you're buying or if it's something much more. That's today on Miles Per Hour. And there it is, the 2022 Lexus IS 500 F Sport Performance. Not going to say the whole name every time, I promise. This one is painted in Grecian water. It's a gorgeous, no-cost paint color. Look at this metallic flake. And it pairs beautifully with the dark painted accents on the 500 model. Now, the first thing to say off the bat, as we go through this review, I do not, as of the time of this filming, have the pricing information announced from Lexus for this vehicle. So there's going to be some projection, especially as it relates to competitors. However, by the time we get around to editing it, we will almost certainly have that pricing information. So as I list equipment during the exterior, interior, and then driving impressions, we'll have some cards for you with the prices. Okay? Just being honest. Now, starting up here at the front, how could we not remark about the Lexus spindle grille? Huge, and yet I've really come around on it. It's so distinctive. You're not going to miss this face relative to any of the other German or Korean or Japanese luxury vehicles. It's got to be a Lexus. And here on this application, it's very useful because up top and down low, that's all functional ventilation. So here we're seeing the radiator steeped back there, getting cool air to that, getting cool air to this heat exchanger prominently placed up front. Over here, we've got the Lexus Spearhook LED daytime running lights and tri-beam or triple beam LED headlights. I believe those headlights are going to be optional on this car. Down low, we do have some non-functional vents here, but these corners are functional air inlets, channeling cool air around the front brakes and tires, cooling those, and just manipulating the air. Here in that grille, the bottom right and left corners are functional brake cooling ducts. So cool air is going to pass in there pretty generously and come out, probably not going to be able to see this, but deep in there, and that's going to send cool air into these brakes. We'll get more into the brakes in a second, but I want to step back onto this side because the shadows are casting very nicely here to show the 2-inch risen power dome, power bulge hood. So that raised up 2 inches over the standard IS hood is a big signature trait of the V8 powered IS 500. Looks awesome. Dig in the face. Now in profile, the IS 500 is going to get a set of 19-inch NK 10-spoke wheels. These are lighter than the standard IS 350 F Sports wheels. And while 19s don't sound like huge wheels, especially whereas the Type S now has 20-inch wheels, these suit this body very well. And this car is not as large as the Type S, so they work very well, and I love the designs. They're fantastic. These are wrapped in Bridgestone Potenza tires, good rubber, 235 section in the front, 265 in the rear, so a staggered setup. With it being rear-wheel drive, having more rubber in the back makes sense. Hiding back behind those wheels, we'll see the black painted Lexus brake calipers on 2-piece aluminum rotors. That's new for the IS 500. So we've got 14-inch front rotors, 12.7s in the rear. And the benefits of a 2-piece rotor relative to a single piece is that they're going to save weight and be better resistant at heat buildup. Very important for a high-performance sedan. Up here, we've got black F Sport badges, a black painted side sill down low, black for the upper piece of this door mirror, And then you've got an integrated turn signal there and a chrome accent. Looks somewhat out of place, but I suppose it maybe goes with the shinier looking wheels. And then body color matching lower piece. Very aero sculpted. And the window trim is in a dark chrome treatment for the IS500. If you were to just look at the profile of the IS500, your giveaways are going to be that power dome, power bulge hood, and the wheels. It's a sleek looking profile, and even on this blue painted car, this cut line here in the body super stands out. Dramatic, eye-catching, I love it. Towards the rear, see the wheel arches flare out just a touch with that cut line. This black subtle lip spoiler is part of the IS500 F Sport treatment. This LED bar running across the back is on all the new IS products. Looks great here too. IS500 badge on the bottom right of the trunk. And then you've got a larger diffuser in black with these staggered quad exhaust ports. And I want to point these out for a second because if you remember the ISF, the full-on F that ended production in 2014, it had quad exhaust ports staggered like this too. But it was only actually 2 functional exhaust ports leading into 2 finishers like this. So you had 4 ports, but just 2 actual exhaust ports. This IS500 F Sport, they've remedied that. These are actual pipes. Just a bit of history for you. The rear view is excellent. That LED bar really emphasizes the width of the sedan. Dig it. I super dig it, especially in this color. Okay, let's go check out that interior now. On our way in, we'll see we have smart keyless entry, so with the key in your pocket, just pull on the door handle to unlock it. To lock it, put your finger on that indent right there. We have that for the front 2 doors, not for the rear ones, and so it's therefore just partial convenience. Opening up and looking inside, this IS500 is in the premium trim. If I have pricing information for that for the edit, I will list it for you here. But as of this filming, I don't know what's in the premium trim, so I'll just list the equipment available to us, including these heated and ventilated Nulux leatherette seats. And I'll be honest, on the seat backs and bottoms, it's very convincing. You'd think this is leather. On the bolsters though, which the seats are more heavily bolstered for the IS500, it feels a bit more plasticky. I do love the gray contrast stitching here on the seats. They are 10-way power adjustable with 4-way lumbar. The only thing I think they're missing is something on the headrest. It just looks a little plain for this top dog F Sport product. I want something embossed or embroidered, something there to just distinguish this from the regular F Sports. We do have F Sport tread plates, looking good. Lexus IS carpeting. Aluminum pedals, that is an IS500 trait. The door panels, this is injection molding, leading down into leatherette material. Not a whole lot going on here. It's pretty plain. Even with this design in here, I want something a little more 3D to help distinguish it. This is soft feeling leatherette, gray contrast stitching in here. This is a different design for the surfacing around the window switches, and all 4 windows are one touch up down, which I do love. You don't have power folding door mirrors on this car. That's very odd to me, especially in this segment. Door handles feel nice and solid. Down here, this is hard plastic, and the door pockets are not very large. And then these speaker covers are fairly nondescript when you consider this car is the Mark Levinson premium 17 speaker 1800 watt sound system that sounds pretty good, especially that bass. You'd think they'd want to gussy this up a little bit more. You also get a power sunroof, but it is not panoramic. It is fairly quick. I'll give them that. Hopping inside, taking a quick peek around this cabin. We'll see visibility is very good, except for that C-pillar back there. There's a bit of a blind spot like most sedans. However, the IS500 comes standard with blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alerts. Now let me hit the accessory button twice, or just once rather, because I want to see the startup sequence. It's pretty cool. It's like falling rain, and then over here we've got a unique IS500 graphic. Accessory 2. And we'll close up this door. Forgive the free-flowing air because it's going to be 90 today, so it's fairly warm inside this cabin. Looking at the steering wheel, we've got a unique ISF Sport badge at the bottom of the steering wheel. It's leather wrapped and heated on this vehicle with this gray contrast stitching that's mimicked around the cabin. Perforations at 9 and 3. It's a great feeling wheel. The leather on here does feel exquisite, and you do contrast that with, again, the leatherette bolsters on the seats. The paddles are good size, and they feel just nice in the hand. Nice activation of them. However, they are made of plastic. They're not aluminum. The steering wheel controls, you've got a few of them, and they are useful, but they're looking a bit dated now for sure. Especially this, the cruise control setting down here. We've seen this on Toyota Lexus vehicles for I don't know how long, but it's okay. I'm gonna give them a pass because this TFT display, 8-inch TFT gauge, is super cool. So it's a digital gauge, but it's got an analog motion that's Lexus LFA supercar inspired. So watch this. Oh, it's so awesome. You can change up the information inside the gauge. You can see what gear position you're in, what gear you're in, tire pressure, your units of measure. This is sort of a Zen one, just looking at the digital needle there. Your fuel economy, range, and driver assistance features. Then if you move it over, you have pretty much the same menu with a couple additions. This one's a Zen one, fuel economy, range, eco data, oil temp, and G meter. That's kind of it for your extras. I just love that. You don't have a head-up display in this car. I don't even think it's going to be an option. You do get this nice leatherette pad on top of the gauge cluster, contrast stitched, solid. These circular air vents also look very nice with this metal looking, but I'm pretty sure it's plastic surround, and a textured rubberized insert. You can click open or click close the vents. Nice and tactile. The turn signal stalk is interesting because it never leaves center. So even if you do a full click up, it comes back to center. And that gives you your non-stop signal, or you can do a half click for just 3 indications. To adjust the steering wheel, it's done manually. You pull down this lever, and you've got a little bit of adjustment. I wish the wheel came up higher, to be honest, for folks who need to raise the seat up more, but it's okay. It's okay. I wish there was more tilt and telescope. Then over here, we've got a button for your rear sunshade. So press that, and the sunshade comes up. Press it again. Goes on down pretty quickly. You also have this other button over here for a surround view camera. So hit this. If we can focus on it. Come on, come on. There we go. Okay. So hit this, and on the 10.3-inch touchscreen infotainment, you get a tour of the inside of the vehicle so you can see those wheels. Or you can have a tour of the outside of the vehicle. Hit this again. Useful for parking for sure. Not as graphically impressive as I've seen some of these other surround view cameras. I know BMW, you can like drag it to anywhere around the vehicle. This one, you got to watch the whole tour. But it's still pretty cool. So that's your surround view camera. Your trunk release button is down here. Hit that once. Hood pop is right there. Coming over here, we've got our start-stop button there. Nice and recessed, so it's like it's drawing you in. Start up the car, please. Moving on to the infotainment now, which is frankly a bit of a sore spot for this car because I know it was updated recently. So look, now we have a touch screen. Imagine that with pinch and zoom, but you can't drag on the screen. You can only go to specific zones in the map, and it's just not. I mean, the whole system, it's sometimes a bit laggy. Like that should have been faster. And it's not very graphically impressive. I find myself just wanting to use the Apple CarPlay system and leave the rest of the infotainment alone. Thankfully, there is CarPlay, there is auto, but you got to plug them in. It's not wireless. And you have to use one of these 2 USB-A ports, not USB-Cs, USB-As, with you've got an aux jack there, a DC socket, no wireless smartphone charging in this car at all. And that just kind of speaks to the age of the technology in here. But, I mean, age isn't always a bad thing. I like the analog clock. That's really cool. The head unit definitely looks dated. I like this. I can't believe I'm saying this. I like this drag and scroll climate control setting here. And you can do 1 unit at a time if you want to. I like that, but everything in between these two dual zone systems looks old. And you drop it down, and that's a CD player. In a 2022 model year car, we get a CD player. Thankfully, they took out the tape deck that we know went there, but we're working with the CD player, okay? I like the physical volume knob, the physical tuner, that's good. There's a blend here, right, of old and new tech, and some old stuff you want to stay around. I like physical controls, but I think the aesthetic needs to be improved. Certainly the piano black, we know how I feel about piano black, but look at this, it's just collecting dust. It doesn't look pleasing to the eye. The gray contrast stitch on the outside is very nice with this leatherette surfacing here. Your park button is here, your e-brake rather. It took me a while to find that. I was looking in here for the longest time, but it's there. Seat heating and ventilation controls will be here. 3 stages for each of those. Over here is your steering wheel heating. And then you've got the same heating and ventilation for the passenger seat on that side. Below that, we've got our drive mode selection. So crank it left for eco mode. Press it down for normal mode. Press it one more time for custom. And that will be repeated here on the infotainment. Crank it right for sport. And right one more time for Sport Plus, matched by the sportiest look for the TFT. We've got snow mode below that. Traction and stability control, press it once for traction off. Press and hold for traction and stability off. Press and hold that for, or just press it once, I'm reading hold, for the auto hold function. You've got a nice leather wrap perforated gear selector here, and it is a mechanical linkage. So it'll be linear down to here, and then click it over for your manual mode to use the paddles on the steering wheel. This is your trackpad for the infotainment, and it's fairly responsive, but again, I'm going to prefer something more intuitive like BMW's iDrive system as an example. You do have a hotkey for the map and for the menu and a back button. Here is your key, and it is a classic Lexus Toyota key, hard plastic on the outside. Your Lexus logo is there. They did put the key ring there, but you can put it there. You've got unlock, lock, and press and hold for your trunk release, and your panic button. No remote start or anything like that is on the key. In here I showed you briefly your connections. Nice contrast stitching on this leatherette surfacing. Good padding there for the armrest. Comfortable place to rest your arm. Over here we've got more of the gray contrast stitch on this injection molded material. Down here, harder plastic. Your glove box, you press that. Pretty small glove box. Looking up, here are your controls for your sunroof. So you can open, or you can tilt it up and down, or open it fully. Press and hold this for a sec, then it pops open pretty darn quickly. Hold that for a sec, and it'll close just as quickly. And you have a manual slider here to seal up the top. The rear view mirror, not digital, not frameless, but it is a fairly good size. This definitely helps with visibility. Didn't realize I'd like it as much as I did. And then you've got your garage door opener controls down here. The sun visor, kind of a letdown. So you've got this well padded fabric material here, vanity with a non-LED incandescent light there. But then you go this way and you try to pull it and nothing happens. Yeah, it's not a sliding sun visor, so you've got this big gap here where sunlight can come through. They did do this pretty nice rubberized padding on the grab handle. That's pretty cool. And now let's go check out the back seats. Oh, while we're back here, I can show you the fuel door. And unlike most Toyota vehicles, this one doesn't have a fuel door release. You just press on it. No capless fueling. I'd like to see that. In the back, we've got the same leatherette seating surfaces. No heating or ventilation, but you do have the perforation. And there's some nice bolstering on the sides of these seats. So you're held snug in place if the driver is driving the way the car should be driven. Injection molding up here, that same leatherette insert. No designs like you do have in the front doors. The one-touch down and up windows are nice, and they go almost all the way down. You're not really going to notice that part. Down here, hard plastics, again with the bland speaker covers. Gray contrast stitch looks good. Okay, so getting in is not too much of a chore. I want to duck your head for taller folks to clear that roof. And the wheel arch does come in just a bit to your access point, but not too bad. And now this is me sitting behind my own driving position at 6 feet tall. We can see I've got 1.5 to 2 inches of knee room. Again, helped by the fact that this is soft, so your knees, if they do have to press into it, not too bad. The footwells are not so tall, so I can't slide my feet very far under there to decrease the knee angle. But headroom, okay, this is me sitting all the way upright. Head's pressed into the roof, but if I kind of slouch forward a bit, I have that knee room there, so I can do this and kind of relax. Now I can pass my fingers through, over my head, under the roof line, so you can fit 6-footers, one behind the other in the IS 500, but it's not going to be so abundant with space. You can make it work, probably for maybe an hour, 2 hours max back here. You do have air vents, but they're kind of small, and you don't get a third zone of climate control or any USBs, USB-A's, USB-C's, not even a DC socket. So you're going to have to use one or both of those ports, depending on how many people you have in the back seats that are in the center console. And that means, what are the two front passengers going to do? You've got the center console that comes down with deployable cup holders. Opens up fairly large. And nice padding on that as well. But the drive shaft hump is really rather tall. So I do not think, and especially with the headroom situation, I do not think a 6-footer, or even, I don't know, 5'8", 5'9" is gonna, no, you're gonna have to be a kid if you're gonna sit in the middle seat. And that is definitely gonna cut into the left and right rear seat passenger space. So really for 4 passengers if you're adults, 5 if you've got kids. Getting to the trunk now. You can release it with that button I showed you up on the dashboard, or there's a trunk release button here. Now if you press that, it's not going to shoot up the trunk like some cars. You're going to have to lift it yourself, but it weighs next to nothing, so it's not very hard. Looking at the trunk, we've got just under 11 cubic feet of space, meaning this is one of, if not the smallest trunk size in its segment. I think the Genesis G70 is about the same. It's going to be enough for you to run around and do your normal errands, but if you want to move, I don't know, furniture, well, I guess why did you buy a compact sedan? But you do have some other options. You can fold down those seats, not from any latch releases in the trunk. You have to go to the back seats, press down on these buttons here, and pull. So that's your 60 side. And here's your 40 over here. And they fold flat here, but if you come to the trunk, you'll see there's a pretty significant lip there. So taller items that are also long are going to be hard. If you've got long, narrow items, you should be just fine. A short surfboard should be fine. And you also get an incandescent light here to illuminate things. No LED lights. No DC socket in the back here. 4 tie-down points though. Helpful. And then lift this up and you'll find a donut. Yes, it's not a full-size spare, but you do get a donut. It's not a patch kit, not just an inflation kit. And I actually kind of like the design of this wheel. It doesn't really go with the color of this car, but you know what? The wheel design's pretty sweet. You don't want to leave that on there too long though. And with all that done, to close the trunk, you have this lever here, or handle rather. We have just 2 things to do before we get moving. We know what they are. One is the big bottle test. We got to see if a big bottle fits in the 22 Lexus IS 500. So we'll try the front cup holders first. Not going to go there. Center console. Will it fit here? Pretty good size. Oh yes. Very snugly, but it fits. So we got one spot. Door pocket. Looks pretty small. Will it fit in there? First, the actual holder. Nope, not there. Okay, we can do it like that. Door test. Fail. But you know what? We got one spot in the IS500, so it passes the big bottle test. And with that, it's time to finally start this car up. Oh. Let's switch it over to Sport Plus mode. Wait for the graphic, wait for the graphic. Now we rev it up. Oh, no soft limiter here. And take it for a drive. Well, crew, if you know this channel, then you know we have to start with a hard launch of the Lexus IS500. Unfortunately, there is no launch control, so we're just gonna have to make do with Sport Plus drive mode. And I'm going to press the traction control button once, and that will turn off traction, but keep stability control on. Then I can't really brake boost it because I've tried this before, it just spins the rear tire. So I'm just going to lay my foot in it, and we'll see how quick we can get off the line. You ready? Okay. A little bit of spin, but we got going. Whoa! That was probably my best launch in this vehicle, and that felt quick. That felt very quick. Now, Lexus says that this will do 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds. That felt low for a second for sure. Perhaps not as fast as one of the all-wheel drive contenders, BMW M340i xDrive, like that, or the, no, it's faster than the Acura TLX Type S for sure, off the line. But that felt quick for just rear drive and 472 horsepower being sent to it via an 8-speed automatic gearbox. So the engine, the 5-liter naturally aspirated V8, no turbos, no supercharger, just raw power. 472 horsepower, 395 pound-feet of torque. If you want a manual transmission, this is not the car for you. You only have the 8-speed automatic as an option. It's a good gearbox. We'll get more into that in just a second here. I'm going to turn traction control back on because it's not really going to be a benefit to me here. So that's back on. It's not going to mess with the Torsen limited slip differential at all. And now we're going to get into some curvy stuff. I'll leave the gearbox in automatic mode to start. Oh, the sound of that engine. My goodness. Above 3,800 RPM, when the dual inlet opens up, it just transforms into perhaps the best soundtrack you can get in a car in this segment. Oh. I'm going to flip around, which will give us a chance to test out the turning radius. It's like a performance intermission. No one's coming. Oh, that's tidy. That was a good turn. All right, let's go into manual mode so I can take control over the shifts. We can have a bit more fun. My goodness, that noise. Okay, the brakes are solid. Good strong bite there. You do feel the weight of this car, especially over the nose there. Bit of dive. But oh, that engine makes up for so much. So much. Peak power, 71 RPM. Peak torque, 4,800 RPM. Oh boy. Okay, so a little download on the handling as I just experienced it. As I said, you can feel the weight of this vehicle more than would-be competitors. Those competitors don't have the weight of a V8 up front. And I need to talk. but I just want to hear this engine all the time. The shifts are very quick. It's a good gearbox. I prefer it in manual mode because even in the Sport Plus mode, left in automatic, it upshifted in places I didn't really want it to. It wasn't so bad, but it's just that much better in manual mode, having that full control. This soundtrack is unreal. Okay, sorry. Back to the handling. I can't. Back to the handling. The steering is, it's not the quickest rack, let's put it that way. Especially coming out of something like the Acura TLX Type S. Just such an urgent rack. The turn-in was so quick. This one, it tucks neatly into corners, but there's a bit of a delay. I think the boosting is considerable here with this rack. I'm a bit more removed from what the tires are doing than I'd like. It's not like the sensation is not there at all. It's just not there quite as perceptibly as some of the other vehicles I've driven, the M340i, TLX Type S. But this just counts for so much. And there's a very satisfying click from the paddles as you engage each gear, up and down. And that's part of the thrill. Oh, but we are headed for some tighter, twistier stuff. Things, challenges, obstacles that I'm not sure the IS 500 is going to be best suited to, but we're going to try it out anyway. All right, let's go for it. Felt very stable through there. That was on power. Uphill does help with traction, certainly. Probably don't need to upshift. This might be a second gear run. The brakes are super good, especially given the weight. Okay, so weight, yes, but stability, definitely. So you have confidence, not because it's a featherweight and you can kind of just slap it left and right easily. You have confidence because the car feels so solid through the corners and it masks its weight with an ability to put the power down confidently and to usher you through the corner. We're going to do it in the reverse order now, though. Really put this car to the test. Downhill, we got gravity working against you with a whole bunch of other weight. Man, those brakes are good. They really haul the car down. Again, I want more feedback through the wheel, but it does tuck itself into those corners, and it does it very confidently. As a driver, you are inspired to push the car a bit harder than you might otherwise think if you're just looking at a spec sheet. All that weight, you're just like, I don't know. But then in practice, it begs to have its neck wrung a little bit. And this engine always begs to be strung out. And I will oblige. Every time. And we're going to take it out of manual mode now, because if you do oblige that V8 to run freely all the time, you will be made painfully aware
of just how fuel inefficient it is. So the IS500 gets 16 mpg in the city, 24 on the highway, and 19 combined. That is the worst in its segment by a decent margin. Just to bring up the other vehicles I'm thinking of, we've got the BMW M340i that gets 25 combined, my goodness, 25 combined mpg. The C43 from AMG gets 22 combined. The Acura TLX Type S gets 21 combined. So yeah, the fuel economy is not great. But now let's pull it out of Sport Plus mode. Let's go to normal mode. Let's just be normal for a second and enjoy the IS500's real party piece, the ride quality, because this is a Lexus after all, and that means that these adaptive dampers are working overtime to make sure that this vehicle is never truly punishing. So we were just in Sport Plus mode. Okay, we'll go back for just a sec. And apart from the additional volume, there isn't much else about the ride to tell you that you're in the most aggressive setting. And no, you cannot adjust the suspension independently from the drive mode, and it doesn't matter, because whatever mode you choose, we'll go back to normal mode now, whatever mode you choose, the ride is awesome for the performance credentials that we have on tap here. It's just, I can't get over it. It's such a great riding vehicle. The bumps are completely absorbed. The cabin is really very quiet, and it never deviates from the luxury experience in the slightest. And while the other interior technology in this vehicle may be on the dated side, the driver assistance features are not, and they're all standard. So I mentioned a couple of them during the interior walk around, including blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alerts. You also get parking sensors, adaptive cruise control with lane keep assist and lane centering assist, so keeping you in the middle of the lane, and automatic emergency braking. Those are all great features. They work very well in my experience. Let's talk about how the IS500 as a complete package stacks up against competition. Now, to do that, I need to make a big caveat here, and I mentioned this right at the beginning of the review. I don't, as of this filming, know the price for the IS500. You do, because you're watching the post-edit, which happened later. But so I'm going to have to make some projection. Let's say, I'm going to give you two verdicts. Let's say that the IS500 is under $62,000, so more aligned with the price of the M340i, the C43, and the TLX Type S. If it's under that price, then what you're getting in terms of the way this vehicle looks, which I think is fantastic, the way it drives, which is really very good from a dynamic standpoint, and when it comes to that engine, is just unparalleled in this segment. The noise, the theater, the thrust, it's all just top notch. And you're getting that ride quality. You're getting that Lexus comfort that is just, it's really top of the line in this segment. Under 62, we're really talking about a pretty killer car here. Because the M340i at 56 to start, 382 horsepower, significantly less power than this. 0 to 60, they say, is like 4.1 seconds, tests car and driver, and that on paper seems less than this, but I mean, just doing this run, this feels like a low 4-second car. C43, 57 to start, and 385 horsepower, so still quite a bit less. 0 to 60, also 4.1 seconds. I mean, I don't know, it just makes so much more power than those cars. And if the 0 to 60, as my seat of the pants says, is closer to that, then, I mean, we're really talking something good here. TLX Type S, if you want to look at another Japanese branded four-door sports sedan, 355 horsepower, so a lot less, more than 100 horsepower less, but a starting price of $53,000 is a pretty good deal. 0 to 60 for that one, they say 4.5 seconds. In my test, it felt like a high 4-second car. Under 62, I mean, huge thumbs up for me. I can deal with all of the things that over $62,000 I would have more of an issue with, and we know what those are. We mentioned them extensively in the interior walk around. This cabin feels dated. I love the steering wheel. It feels great in the hands. The seats are very comfortable, but there's nothing in here that screams really high-end luxury. The fit and finish is fine. It's a little plasticky in places, and it looks just dated in some other places. The infotainment is finicky and not super intuitive, and there's nothing about this cabin that says, I'm a really special car, even though it is. So if it's over $62,000, all of the great things about it are a little dampened by that price point. If it's under 62 though, man, what a car. And I'm gonna throw it into custom mode to finish this one out, where you can have the suspension independently adjusted, and you can just have it in the most potent setting. And I hope you guys enjoyed this in-depth review. If you did, please like, comment, and share the video, and please consider subscribing to the channel for more great videos like this. I will see you guys again next time. Till then, more V8.